V8 Hemi or Hurricane straight 6 engine. We're gonna figure out which one is better on this episode. Welcome back to another episode of ModStars. I'm your host Z. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And should this just be another Mopar Wars video? I mean, I brought out the Dodge Dart video right before this. Go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. But I didn't intend to keep making videos comparing different Mopar chassis and stuff like that. But, you know, I've said that so many times before, so I guess it's going to go into that playlist. Today's comparison is going to be very simple and, to my best ability, unbiased as possible. So let's get into it. We're all aware that the Hemi is the bread and butter of all things Mopar. It's a V8. They've been around for a very long time. For the most part, the engines themselves are pretty durable and reliable. Notice I said the engines themselves. And this straight 6 Hurricane engine, in my opinion, as you've heard me mention in the previous video, I think it's just a modern version of BMW's N54, which is what raises my concerns surrounding the engine. I've actually done videos on this engine last year, so I'll leave the link in the description below about things to look out for and to repair. Matter of fact, I'll just put the link in the description below on the this versus this video with the 535 versus a GTO, because it has the M54 motor in the E60 chassis, and some of the things that I mentioned just as repair mods to make sure the car is reliable, period, is what most of the budget will be spent on. So with that in mind, you might have to consider, will this thing consume a lot of oil? Will it leak a lot of oil? Will there be huge carbon buildup in the intake valves? Will the shafts of the turbo start to, sway a lot? Will they become unstable where you have to replace the turbos? Will there be certain valves, like EGR valves, assuming they have it, right, that will fail? Or there are gaskets that will fail prematurely? And the list goes on and on and on. So those are things that I am concerned about. Will you need basically a crankshaft pulley brace? I don't remember the term for this thing, but in other words, if or when the belt slips or tears, it won't get gummed into the crankshaft where you have to replace the entire motor, or the harmonics might cause some issues with the engine to where you might need a whole new engine, some BMW type issues, right? So things like that are my concerns. But that's all I got for those. Now, as far as the Hemi goes, like I've said, the engine itself has been pretty durable, but we've heard stories or had experiences of water pumps failing, or just simple electronic things, which, as we know, is by design in modern day cars, right? Or just the cost of certain things from a dealer, assuming you have to or you choose to go to dealers, which again comes down to preference and resources, right? So at the end of the day, for the Hemi, it's been around long enough, has a long enough track record that you know what you're working with. Whereas the Hurricane engine is very, very new, and just time will tell. Now, if the concern or your gripe, so to speak, about the Hurricane is that it makes more power than the Hemi because of the turbos, okay, well, here's a solution. Get a turbo kit for the Hemi. Get the Hellion Sleeper twin turbo kit. You won't even know the turbos are there. It's tucked underneath the engine. It looks stock from, engine bay view when you pop the hood. And you're not going to know the turbo's there until you get on it. And if you're racing, until you find out the hard way, right? So there's a lot of options there. And if you're really worried about that one thing, just by all means, get a Hemi, get a Hellion twin turbo kit, you're good to go. If you cannot afford or want to buy or finance or even fit in the new Charger 6-pack, get an older 5.7, get a Hellion twin turbo kit. You don't have to worry about getting a Hellcat or a Scat Pack unless you want to. You can do the same thing with those as well. And your problem solved. So I know the comparison is a little different than what you expected, than what most people will do, but that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think. What would you do? Like, subscribe, and share. If you don't know, now you know, but do what you want to do.